Assalamu alaikum. If you've met me over the last 6 months in New Jersey, you will know how obsessed I am with Chashni and their Saturday and Sunday desi nashta or brunch. In general, I'm obsessed with desi nashtas. Like even when I go back to Pakistan, the first thing that I have is an anda paratha, and that anda with, pyaz and hari mirch and sort of, the works. And I never found something like that in the US. And now Chashni has sort of introduced that concept here in New Jersey. And not just that, but to top it off, they have this dal cooked in desi ghee, for lack of a better word, although Amna will correct me. And I just adore Chashni. The way that it's done, the way that they opened up a Pakistani restaurant in a white neighborhood and attracted more non Pakistani clients than Pakistani clients. If they were a little bit bigger, I'd say I'd host my daughter's wedding in Chashni. But there's a whole lot there to unpack. But I am very, very excited to have Amna, who is the founder and owner of Chashni, although she runs it with her family. So we're going to get into that as well. But Amna, we're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for reaching out for the opportunity. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And just a quick programming note, Amreen wasn't able to join us today because she's had a last minute meeting pop up. But I was like, I cannot wait to talk to Amna. So we're going ahead and doing this anyways. So Amna, first of all, I just want to know Chashni's backstory. It's incredible food. The decor is just perfect. You attract a non-Pakistani clientele to a Pakistani restaurant, which I haven't seen anywhere, frankly. How was this? How did this idea of Chashni, like, how was it born? Like, where does it come from?
I guess it starts way back, or like our obsession with eating and
Mhm.
nashta and brunch, especially my obsession with it. So, like, I'm always looking for brunch spots around New York, New Jersey. Any weekend we get an option, we're going. This is before I opened up the restaurant. Now it's different. Now we don't have time to go. So yeah, before that it was always like a lot of like nashta brunch eating. So the concept had always been in the back of my head. So for example, when Namkeen opened and we kind of settled down with everything, I would joke around with my husband like, "You got Namkeen, now I want my own like nashta spot, like a brunch spot for like what I like to portray and like what I like to eat and cook and so I guess that's kind of semi the backstory. Um, yeah, I don't know what else.
That's very interesting. We're going to get into, there's a lot of threads that you've thrown out there, and I want to get into each of them, including the fact that now you don't get time to go brunching yourself because you're too busy serving brunch, but also sort of the namkeen part. And I know that there's a very interesting COVID sort of story there as well, and how this was also a COVID baby, for lack of a better word. But before we get into that, I want to help sort of the audience understand you better as a human, and also sort of the many layers of your identity. So, talk to me a little bit about where you were born, where you were raised, at what point you came to America. Like, give me a little bit of your childhood and what that was like.
So I was born in Pakistan. I was there until I was like 6, and then we came here when I was around 7. So have a really vague memory of Pakistan. It's very nostalgic, but like some things that I do remember, I hold them really close to me. And then when I came here, I just went to school and like it was kind of just like go with the flow here. But in Pakistan, it was a lot different. It was like playing outside, being with just the Pakistani mahol, like the whole
Hmm.
feeling is a lot different. And like just going to our gaon, meeting my dada bu dadi me and like our entire family because like how it's like small, so like everybody's close to you, everybody
Hmm.
kind of takes care of you and nourishes you in their homes. And so like we grew up with that. And then when we came here, like we had our family, like we still met up, but it's a lot different because you're in a whole different environment. But yeah, like growing up, it was a lot to do with holding our culture close to me. us in general because we were very family oriented. Like my all my dad's side is here. So growing up, we were meeting at each other's house every Sunday for a dawat. So each
Hmm.
brother or sister hosts a different dawat for every Sunday. And like yeah, like when you're with the family, you're automatically just kind of your culture is flowing. You're eating desi food. You're around your people. And we would have like our summer trips where we would go to Canada to eat desi mangoes, like
Oh wow,
and yeah,
Pakistani mangoes or desi mangoes?
Pakistani mangoes,
Yeah.
Bertol, you name it. Like we would go to the hotel and have like petiya of like
No way. You would go to Canada, stay in a hotel, and just order
just order mangoes.
Amazing.
So
Well, I can't wait for you to open up a mango themed restaurant in New Jersey. I think that needs to be next on your list.
yeah, so we would just get like petiya, and when we were done, we would stack them outside the door for them to like clean up, and it was just so funny because we knew we were just like making a havoc, and it was a lot. Like every floor, there was one of us, one of the families living, in the hotel. So yeah, like little things like that, we've just like really cherished, and like like held close to. So growing up it was like, holding our identity as a Pakistani and a Pakistani Muslim, in fact.
Hmm.
And then also trying to fit in with
Hmm.
America and American culture. But I think for me, it was a little easier because I had I had a big community of my family around me. So it was easier to just be myself. Like I never had to be American. I just
Hmm.
kind of found the medium where I was more Pakistani American than just like American American, if that made sense.
Yeah.
So when I came here initially, it was a little hard because I didn't speak English. We were all just trying to fit in to America. Moving in, it's a big move. It's like we're literally migrated from.
Do you still remember that? You were 7, so I'm very curious. Like, do you still remember that? Like, is it a thing in your memory or is it more nostalgic?
It is a memory actually because my dad was already based in America, so when
Hmm.
he got the opportunity, he called us over. So he came. He would bring like toys and like candies and all these things from America. So like how it is in
Hmm.
Pakistan, like America se cheez aayi hai, so it's like
Yeah.
100% better. So yeah, like we were always just so excited for that moment for those things to come. So I remember when we were in the process of getting our passports, vaccinations, just all the paperwork we were going. And then my dad did like one last trip of Lahore. Like we're from Gujarat, but we did like one whole trip to Lahore so to see all the monuments before we come to um America. So that's something I remember like going to the Bachai Masjid, the Killa, the Minare
Wow.
Pakistan, like all of those things I kind of remember. And like the day we were coming to America for our flight, I remember like reading dua and all these little things, to just make the supper go well. Like even going in the plane, it was a two-story plane actually. I
Hmm.
think it was PIA, I don't remember. Um, but like I remember the hostess giving me like a little bear and like coloring stuff. So like,
Wow, that's remarkable memory that
yeah,
there's so fine details that you remember from so long
yeah.
ago.
I don't know how I just remember those, and I don't have a good memory for like past things, but like those things like became like core memories for me. Coming here, and when we even landed, like I remember my tayabu and his daughters and like his family came to pick us up, and I also just remember like seeing them like
Hmm.
and that interaction I kind of remember because we were totally different. Even though we were like the same age, but we were like totally different because I didn't really speak English, but they did and like they grew up here, so but we were born there. So like, meeting for the first time, it was like
Hmm.
we're strangers, but we're related. And then, with time we became fond of each other and everything. So
Yeah, we're strangers, but we're related. I think that's the story of our cultures.
yeah, exactly.
That's so fascinating. And I want to now move to sort of school and how you adjusted into that. And I think I met your sister or your sister-in-law at Chashni recently because I'm always there. Sister, right? And then she said that you actually started out in Islamic school. And is that correct? And then what was that like, sort of getting adjusted to that here?
Yeah, so actually, when we first got here, I was in public school for
Hmm.
a year and a half. So that was a little different because I remember I could not speak a word of English, and I was in
Hmm.
ESL, and the only friend I had was an African American who she was also in ESL, and the only thing we said to each other was La ilaha illallah. It's such a wonderful
Was she
thing.
Muslim?
She was Muslim, yeah. So like that
Okay.
was the only way we communicated. We had no idea what we were
Wow.
saying to each other, but like
Hmm.
that was the one thing for sure that we kind of said to each other. But like after that, I kind of got better. So then I went to Islamic school, and I graduated from Miftal Ulum. It's in Union City. Um, and like growing up there, it was a lot of fun because I grew up around so many different ethnicities. Palestinians, Iraqis, Egyptians, Sudanese, like you name it, like very
Right. Hmm.
um what do you call that word?
Multicultural. It was very like a melting pot.
Yeah, so
Uh,
like grew up around them. So like I think that's why it was easier for me to be who I was because everyone was kind of who they were. So like
hmm.
we always kind of like was a conversation starter, like what did I do, what do you do in your house, like things like that. What do you
Hmm.
eat, what do I eat? And we would
Hmm.
bring our lunches and like
Mm.
exchange lunches, eat each other's lunches. So it was little things like that. Like so I guess when I was in public school at that time, I didn't really know much about like who I am. Like it was just, getting through the day, trying to
Hmm.
communicate. Like my struggle at that time was just learning English,
Hmm.
and I didn't really get to really experience the real American high school or middle school. It was more Islamic. So like in a way, I'm really thankful I didn't.
Hmm.
But there are pros and cons with everything. So and I guess that's what makes me more comfortable in my skin than
Yeah.
would feel.
Absolutely. And also, I think you're putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself to not express yourself. You were 8 when you were at public school, so it's a different world. And then, where did you go for university? And was that more mainstream? And now I want to know, like, when you went from an Islamic school to a more sort of mainstream habitat, and how that sort of played out.
Yeah, so I went to Rutgers.
Hmm.
So actually, when I was in high school, we were doing college level classes in a community college. So it was like a program, LEAP program. So I was kind of like exposed to the university in like the college culture in high school. And then when I really went into college on my own, like trying to figure out my way. So I was in Rutgers, New York, and then I transferred to NJIT.
Hmm.
So it was like I actually at that time I realized like wow, like I'm actually not in my comfort zone anymore because
Mm.
I was always in my comfort zone in Islamic
Hmm.
school. Even though I had my friends, most of my friends did transfer with me, but we were always just like, different majors, different classes. So
Hmm.
I really then I got to really explore myself in a different way versus, just being around people I always knew grew up with.
Yeah.
So it was different, but still like I still was myself. Like because also like I don't know if you know, Rutgers, New York has a big Islamic and Muslim
Yeah.
Pakistani community, so it was easier. So yeah, like growing up in NJIT was a lot different. Like I mean,
Hmm.
transferring into NJIT was a lot different because over there it was like my major was interior design,
Hmm.
so it's a mainly white people, a lot of
Mm.
um some Hispanics, but mainly white
Hmm.
like students. So like over there it felt a little different for me because I then realized like, oh, like I can show my culture, but like I had to just kind of hide it.
Hmm.
Kind of just like, um I didn't try to be like them or anything, but it was just kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's like different, like because you're kind of from growing up in a very like multicultural community, and then you come into like strictly like everyone
Yeah.
around you is the same race, and you're the only outsider with the hijab on.
Mm-hmm.
It was welcoming and everything, but still, like, it kind of puts you on the spot wherever
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Especially in my major, the architectural program, it was a lot more diverse, but interior design wasn't that much. Um,
That's fascinating. I would have never thought that about interior design, but that's a really interesting nugget. Did you feel like food was an expression of your culture that was safe, like in any way, like sharing food or bringing food, and also like um, what gave you the strength to sort of hold your own and to say, "Hey, I'm going to be me"? Like, did you waver at any point? Or like talk to me a little bit more about that.
I guess, like I said, like it was like when I was in university, we were just always so focused on our projects and stuff. But when we did go out and like have lunch together, that's when I was able to express myself more.
Mm,
But then when I would go home, like, you're just kind of like your own, like you're doing your own thing. So,
hmm.
um, I guess I just held on to myself, I think mainly because of my family.
Um,
Sorry.
That's fascinating. So then, talk to me about what happened after you graduated, to the story of Chashni. Maybe your marriage comes before that, but like, talk to me what happened sort of after you graduated and as you went into professional life, and the journey from there to Chashni.
So I think my journey really started with food on my thesis year. We
Hmm.
were given the project of making a culinary school. So interior design in college is not like interior design you would think, like decorating houses. It was a lot
Hmm.
more. It was more interior architectural design. Like we did
Mm.
like we were almost kind of like architecturals minus all the crazy details and the maths and everything. It
Hmm.
was more like low key. So my thesis project was about culinary arts. So I designed like a culinary art school, and I think that really like
Mm.
opened up the culinary aspect in my life. And
Hmm.
then we went to different restaurants. We tried different culinary schools. We like did like a whole project about that. So that really put me in the position of being interested in the whole concept of like culinary, just not like the school, but like how restaurants work and how people, you know, organize everything. There's a lot that goes behind it. And then when COVID happened, I was furloughed from my internship. So I kind of still tried to do some freelance here and there, but because it was a lot of like people were just really like not, everybody was just
Hmm.
shut down. So it was kind of
Hmm.
slow. So then October hit, and even actually before October, we started coming up with Namkeen, the idea of Namkeen, the design of Namkeen, the logo, just the branding of Namkeen. So like, I think my whole background really helped play a
Hmm.
role in that. Making the logo, the design of the restaurant, and like all these things, and just like organizing how, I think the organization aspect really helped too. And also it was like, as a design student, you don't sleep.
Hmm.
Like that dedication really like stepped in, like that like, just you have to be on top of it. You have to
Yeah.
run the restaurant no matter what. You're crying, you're sleep deprived, you're whatever, and you have to
Hmm.
be there because it's your restaurant, your blood and
Hmm.
sweat, everything is there.
Wow.
So that whole dedication aspect that I felt like I had when I was in design school, because you have to finish that project no matter
Hmm.
what. Every
Hmm.
detail counts. You have 1 hour left, doesn't matter. You have to finish it. So like,
Hmm.
like that characteristic kind of,
Hmm.
when I was actually working at Namkeen and we were extremely busy, like I had like PTSD of like high school days. I was like, oh my God, this is that whole concept all over again, but in a different environment. So yeah, like it was crazy, but like I think just the design aspect and everything, like being in the school and um learning from that and then coming into the real world, because it's different when you're learning, but when you're
Yeah.
actually in the real world, then you really realize like, oh, like this is for real. This is not just,
Yeah. And they're real customers that you're serving, and real customers that get mad and happy.
yeah.
So let's start with this October, I'm assuming October 2020, and the birth of Namkeen, which was your first restaurant, which is like two doors down from Chashni. Um, where did the concept of Namkeen sort of come from? And how hard was it to get it off the ground, sort of during COVID, at that moment?
Um, I think the concept of namkeen, like I said, for Chashni too, was always in the back of our minds.
Hmm.
We always knew that in America, we are constantly looking for halal food options that are not just dabas and stuff like that. Not
Hmm.
offense to that, like we
Hmm.
that you need that too, but
Hmm.
like we always just felt like a void with like contemporary eats,
Hmm.
it being halal and it
Hmm.
being modern. So we kind of went to LA, Usman and I, before COVID, and we tried hot chicken there, and we were like, wow, like this is so good. And then we came back to America, Jersey, and we were like,
Hmm.
there's no halal hot chicken
Mm.
here. Like, what is going on? Like we would go to Canada, like we have to go somewhere to,
Mhm.
like why not in our own community?
Yeah.
Because we know like everyone in, like a lot of people in Jersey crave that, because
Mhm.
it was like back then, like the food scene was so dry here. Like
Mhm.
you you wouldn't get what you have,
Yeah.
the options you have now. So I think we really started that trend of like mixing our identity with the American identity, and like
Mhm.
not being shy about it, and not being shy to say that we're halal. That
Mhm.
was a very big thing too, because we're in Chatham.
Yeah.
It's a white community. So like we never hesitated to like advertise that we're halal, because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like we are halal. This is us. So like we have to show it. So yeah, like Osman.
And I want to say that that's a reflection of your life as well. Like that's you're unapologetically who you are, and I think that that reflects in the food, and sort of the way that those restaurants operate as well.
Yeah. So I think it's like an immigrant thing, because we always grow up trying to fit in the best
Mhm.
of two worlds. We're here, we're trying to fit here. Then you go back to Pakistan to visit, and then you're not really Pakistani, you're the girl or the boy who came from America,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
it's like finding that medium.
Mhm.
So it's like I think Namkeen and Joshni were like our mediums that we were
Mhm.
we got the opportunity, alhamdulillah, to portray like our labor of love, and like our labor of like just our characteristics in a way to people who also
Mhm.
feel like us. Like we
Mhm.
got to meet because of this, right? You and I.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So Usman always wanted to like open up his own restaurant. He was really into cooking. So
Mhm.
he also worked 9 to 5, and like that was okay, but like he was never happy. So when the opportunity arose, we jumped for it. And like in COVID, like everybody was really skeptical, like don't do it. It's
Mhm.
scary. Like these are scary times.
Mhm.
But like we were not prepared for the outcome.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
all we did was just advertise on social media, on Instagram, and we called all our family, friends, everyone local,
Mhm.
that we knew, the community we knew, to just come and try it. And then when we did open, like I guess people were really excited. Like it was
Mhm.
something, because it was very sad time. So like
Mhm.
something that brought joy to everyone.
Mm.
It was a lot
Mhm.
of stress on us too, because we had to follow guidelines from the CDC, COVID and everything. So it was a lot of stress on us.
Mhm.
It was like so rewarding at the end when people stood in lines, got their food, and they were like, "This is really good. This is amazing." Like, and like being able to combine the Pakistani flavors into something like hot chicken. It was like kind of like a genius thing, but not at the same time. So alhamdulillah, like I feel like all of our brains got together and we
Hmm.
huddled down and kind of just spit out ideas at each other until we finally, perfected our recipes. Even when we opened, it wasn't 100%. So we were still learning from our customers and like making improvements. So yeah, I'm just going on a rant. But
No, I love this. In fact, now what I'm going to do is because, it's every Pakistani immigrant uncle's dream to open a restaurant in America or a petrol pump, like, those two. So I really want to get into this because I think that the audience would find this insightful and like learn a lot from this also. So I'm going to ask you a few questions on this. One, you talked about the idea of the hot chicken and where it came from, and that's beautiful. Did you actually do any market research and actually like talk to people, or was it your gut that said, "Hey, I went to LA, I tried this. This is what this market needs." Like, was it your gut, or did you go and like do some extensive research that
I
helped?
think it was more so like in both. We did
Mm-hmm.
our research. We tried to look for spots that were halal. Like the community did crave this. Like when you talk to like our family friends, we're always talking about, hey, where should we go to eat? And
Mm-hmm.
then you're just like, we don't want to eat fish. We don't want to eat anything vegetarian. Like we need
Mm-hmm.
good halal
Ghost.
food.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So it was kind of like marketing, but it was all sorry, it was also research, but it was our gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess deep down we knew that like we just have to do it. Like
Yeah.
we just have to do it. Like why do we have to travel
Mm-hmm.
across the state, across
Mm-hmm.
the country, I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
go eat food, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Why not
Yeah.
here? So it was a lot to do with that because that void we always felt. And then also like our ability to portray our culture was like this was an opportunity we all just needed because we
Mm-hmm.
always felt so bottled up trying to portray ourselves but also like kind of being shy about it. So I think Namkeen and Joshni was that platform that we were gifted from Allah because we didn't know how to portray
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
true colors or our true characteristics and flavors. And this was our opportunity to show everyone that there's Pakistani food, that it can be American and it can stand on its own and it can also be, mixed together because we are basically a mixture of Pakistani American.
Yeah.
So like that's what we were able to kind of portray.
Yeah. And that's so fascinating because it's very rare to show an expression or the merger of those two cultures in a way that's so beautiful. And food is one of the few ways in which you can actually show that fusion. So that part is fascinating. And then I want to come to like how much courage it took to open this restaurant as well. So do both of you come from business families who run businesses and so it wasn't a big deal that you were opening a restaurant, or do you come from like 9 to 5 families where the family was like, oh my god, what are you doing, like you're opening a restaurant in the middle of COVID? Like talk to me about what the context was around this.
Yeah, so my dad, when he came here, he started his own like auto body shop.
Hmm.
So then I guess it was the background. Like my dad, they started their own business. So we kind of was, we were always kind of like also like I don't know how to explain it. Like even Osman is really against the whole 9 to 5. He
Mm-hmm.
like really believed that we need our own business. We need to be
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial. Like why do we have to work
Mm-hmm.
for someone
Mm-hmm.
when you have the opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do it, make it halal, and then do it the right way. So it was always just kind of that. Like I guess our upbringing too.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And then when it came to Namkeen and you were starting out, were you putting like your own money into it? Like, were you getting investors into it? Was that part scary? Where like, were you putting all your life savings into this and didn't know whether it would work? Like, what was it like? Like financially, like what was that risk like?
Um, Financially, the risk was a lot because
Mm-hmm.
you're starting a business. You don't know how it's gonna be. It's COVID, like it was scary, and it was just the family. Like we put in our own money,
Mm-hmm.
that was the other thing. So it was really scary and it was a risk. But we always just said to each other that like we are doing it in the name of Allah. We're doing it to it's like we're bringing the community together and we're serving halal food. So
Mhm.
make it halal. You know, Allah puts risk and barakah in
Mhm.
the business. So our intentions were good and pure. So like we started off with that, you know,
Mhm.
100% trust in
Mhm.
Allah. So like
Mhm.
we didn't know what we were going to expect.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like jump in the boat and just go with the flow, you know. But also
That's beautiful.
like I think it was a lot to do with like trust in Allah. Like
Mhm.
there were moments when we were so busy, like we worked day in, day out. Like
Mhm.
we were there from 9 a.m. and we would leave
Mhm.
at 1 a.m.
Wow.
Long shifts that we were doing on our own. We only had like 2 or 3 employees. That's it.
Mhm.
And it was like crazy. And like there were moments when I would just like want to just cry.
Mhm.
It was because it's a lot. Like you're just on your feet. You're just like a machine doing this, that.
Mhm.
Some customers are happy. Some customers are not because they waited so long in the line to
Mhm.
get their food, and then they have to wait another 30 minutes, 40 minutes to actually get their food. So it was
Mhm.
a lot. It was a lot of emotional, physical, um, just mentally, like a lot.
Mhm.
A pressure on us, but like I said, I don't think I would have gotten through it if we neither of us had like trust in Allah. Like there were moments when
Mhm.
like we felt like, oh, our mac and cheese is not
Mhm.
what it's supposed to be because we're
Mhm.
so rushed with everything. Or our coleslaw is not to taste, you know, little
Mhm.
things. Like
Mhm.
it's a lot of pressure, but like I said, it's rewarding at the end too. Because
Mhm.
you need to put blood and sweat and tears into your business for it to actually be rewarding and for it to start.
Wow. And how long was this difficult period where you were like standing there from like 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.? Like, how long was this period? And like, walk me through your like typical day when you were there. Like, were you doing everything from cooking to sourcing to selling? Like, what was it like? Like, take me into what a day looked like at that time.
So basically, I think we were like that for almost half a year.
Oh wow.
After that kind of calmed down because COVID started to calm down, and then we were able to get employees and train them. So basically, we would wake up. At that, I don't think in the beginning we had like our main companies who like deliver like
Mm-hmm.
the inventory.
Uber and all of that.
So
Mm-hmm.
we would run to like Restaurant Depot,
Mm-hmm.
get all our supplies, whatever we need, and then we would go to the restaurant. So it was kind of divided. Like I would do the coleslaw, I would do the sauces, I would do like the waffle batter. Like everything we made was from scratch. This
Mm.
and the tikka, the mint chutney, like all the sauces and stuff was like my duty and my sister's duty and my mother-in-law. Like the ladies took over that,
Mm-hmm.
and then the chicken, the brine, the flour mixing, all that, the spices that we put on the food, the chicken was all like Usman and like the boys' duty. So
Mm-hmm.
the work was divided, but it was still a lot to kind of like get into and like have everything ready before it opens. Like people will start getting in line like
Mm-hmm.
10:30, even like half an hour before that, and it would put up more pressure on us. Like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, like we need to work faster, we need to work quicker.
Yeah.
So yeah, like even when we got employees, even after that, like the rush was still ongoing. So like our employees, like the people who were in the front taking orders and like
Mm-hmm.
packing orders and giving them out, they had a lot of guts to
Mm-hmm.
stand by our side and like endure
Mm-hmm.
the hardship that we did. So like some of our employees are still with us, and we look back at that time and we joke around like, "Do you remember like the craziness we went through?" But yeah, like I think the rush really taught us a lot of things. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of pressure, but it was a learning process for us. We perfected our line in chat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like we're still trying to figure out like our like the workflow that we have in Chatham, we don't have in Metuchen and like Brooklyn. Like we're still
Mhm.
working on it. Like we're always
Yeah.
tweaking it. But like subhanallah, like Chatham was just, it's like,
Trial by fire.
oh yeah, it was so good.
That's fascinating. At what point in the journey did you know you were gonna make it? Like this is gonna work. Like when did you know?
Um, I think it was like the first 2 weeks. Like we were like,
Oh, really?
yeah, like because the amount of love and support we got from everyone, we were just like, this is like Allah rewarding us for all our prayers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This will work.
Mm-hmm.
Although like it was difficult, we thought like we can't get through it, but we got through it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was difficult. Like we even had to stop. I think like the first month in, we had to close down for a week because we needed to regroup and like make the workflow a lot better for
Mm-hmm.
that we were facing. So yeah.
That's an incredible story. The other part that I find so fascinating is it's a very family run business. You and your husband, and you said your mother, your mother in law, your sister. How are you guys not fighting in the middle of all of this stress and all of that? Like, how is all of that? Like, keeping a normal family together is hard, but like add the pressure of a restaurant.
No, there were fights. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's be honest. Like, yeah, because there's so much pressure, like you are bound to just let it out. And it's easier to let it
Mm-hmm.
out on your own people than like your employees.
Mm-hmm.
So like we would get in fights.
Mm-hmm.
My mother-in-law wasn't really at the scene. It was mostly me, my sister, my sister-in-law, our cousins, and all the
Mm-hmm.
young kids. Like we
Mm-hmm.
were at the scene, and we would have our ups and downs. We would have our tears. We would have our hugs and like everything. Like I remember when we first opened, like every day when we would come, we would get together, make dua, and then we would go open the door.
Oh,
So, like
wow.
it was like, these little
Mm-hmm.
things really like bring you together. And
Mm-hmm.
although like we had our like ups and downs, like we would fight midway, and but the good thing was we were wearing masks, so customers didn't know what we were talking about. But we were frustrated with each other,
Uh-huh.
but we just went through it.
Said it in Urdu,
Yeah.
not in English. That's beautiful. Um, so and just curious, out of curiosity, is your marriage now just about the restaurants? Like, do you just keep talking about the food, or do you talk about your children? Like, what does it do to a marriage to run a restaurant together?
It does a lot because like before it was a lot easier when we didn't have Orhan. We were able to like balance the work
Mm-hmm.
marriage life, but now with Orhan it's a lot more difficult because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes I have to go to Chashni. Osman is like really busy with all of the namkeen. So like
Mm-hmm.
it does become difficult for us to find time to, regroup and sit together.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's just how it is. You need to put in that struggle, you need to put in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we'll find one way or another, we'll find
Yeah.
a way to get together and regroup.
That's amazing. In some ways, do you think it's harder than your 9 to 5 life, or do you feel like it's more rewarding and you enjoy this hustle more?
Yeah, I guess it is harder because I did the 9 to 5, and sometimes I tell Usman like I want to go back to it, and he's like, "What are these businesses for? They're for you." So yeah, like it was a lot more easier in 9 to 5, but it became repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you meet new people. Like for example, I met you. Like
Mm-hmm.
I met so many people from Joshni.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much from Namkeen because Namkeen we were always behind the counter, always working. But like now that like things have calmed down, like I'm meeting so many people, I'm learning so much about myself, about how to be more like communicative with people around me. And I think that was another thing that like growing up, like we're like our um cultural and our upbringing and our personalities, we like for example I personally was very quiet, like I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that social. I was
Mm-hmm.
only social with my friends, and I was only like funny and crazy with my friends, like not with
Mm-hmm.
people. So like I think opening up the restaurant, meeting different people, was I was able to, be more comfortable in my skin, be more like talkative, more communicative. So yeah, I think alhamdulillah, like I'm good with I'm good with the restaurant. Like I don't think I would go back to 9 to 5 because
That's
yeah, like your
mhm.
business, it's your baby, like COVID baby.
Yeah. Speaking of restaurant babies, now it's you're turning into a little bit of a culinary umpire. You've got Namkeen expanding to multiple locations. You've got Coca. You've got Chashni. Um, what's the vision for the future, and also like how are you guys managing sort of all of this? And is it like a franchise model, or how are you expanding sort of all of this?
So Coca is actually my dad's and my brother's
Mm.
restaurant. So that's them. They're struggling
Hmm.
with that. Like we'll help out
Okay.
in
Hmm.
once in a while, but like alhamdulillah, that's their thing. With Namkeen, we are one, two, three, four. We're like five of us, so we divided ourselves up.
Hmm. And does that mean you show up at Chasni like every day? Like, what's your routine like now? So, what does like a week or a day look like in your life now?
Uh, Now I'm usually there when I'm needed.
Hmm.
Sometimes like I'm usually there when I we have to make bratin. They're training the employees how to make bratin and
Hmm.
martel and everything. So like I'm there for the prep and everything, overlooking everything. And sometimes on Sundays we're usually short on employees. So like I
Hmm.
or Usman will cover. So it's more
Hmm.
like overlooking everything is going well, but also maintaining the standards that we have set, maintaining, just like little things like coffee, the chai. I'm usually not, like now I have time, like I'll be trying different recipes for drinks and
Mm.
stuff. Um, so just like recipes, like it took me like 2 to 3 months to start the salad that I started at Chashni, but I finally did. So it's a lot of trial and errors now. Like now I'm able to actually explore more like the culinary aspect and also just trying to maintain everything.
That's very cool. Um, and there's one more aspect of this which I wanted to talk about, which is, as a brown Muslim woman, when you sort of, lead employees or run a business, or when a patron comes and they see that, you're the owner, you're the woman in charge, um, does it does it impact the way that you run the business in any way? Does it impact the way that your employees or your patrons sort of see Chashni? You're still yourself, you're still who you are, but like talk to me about how sort of the world interacts and engages with you and sees you.
Yeah, I think I get a little shy when
Mm-hmm.
people come up and they're like, "Oh, do you own
Mm-hmm.
Joshny?" And I'm like, "No, it's not just my thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the whole family. Like, I don't want to take credit for it because
Mm-hmm.
it's our backbone. Like, we all work together to bring it to where it is now." So with employees, like we're just really ourselves. Like I am
Mm-hmm.
with you, like very natural, like very friendly. Um, just very communicative. There is a language barrier between us, but we like work together. We
Mm-hmm.
are a great team.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to like, sometimes I do feel a lot of pressure on me because I was not trained to do any of this. I was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of doing it. I think
Gotten into it.
my sister and like Noan and like Rabia, my sister-in-law, they're a lot more better with like
Mm-hmm.
dealing with like customers and like talking
Mm-hmm.
to them and like, communicating with them. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
I was always just like, I was there but not there, but now I'm in like and then the spotlight. So like I do feel shy and I do feel uncomfortable, but like
Mm-hmm.
getting through it. Like I've learned a lot too, so it's a lot easier.
That's amazing. I remember the first few times that I came to Chashni, I thought you were the owner, but I wasn't sure. And then one time I came when I actually wanted to talk about the podcast, or I called and I'm like, "Hey, can I speak with the owner?" And they're like, "Yes, Amna's here." And then even then I was unsure if it's you or not, because and I guess that's the shyness sort of part of you. But it's what you've done and the work that you've done is so incredible that you should be proud of it, and you should sort of tell the world how amazing it is. because it is incredible. Even the decor and the way that Chashni is done, it's not just in the food, the fusion of the American and Pakistani culture. It's also in the ambiance that you've created, which is like unlike anything that I've seen for a Pakistani restaurant. I think that that's what makes it
So
amazing.
like when we were, so I don't know if mentioned this. So Joshny, where Joshny is right now, was actually storage,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just in the initial like talks of like, oh, let's open up a cafe here, let's do like a chai spot, a brunch. Like initially we were just going to do chai and dessert, but then we were like, no, we need to expand the menu, we need
Mm-hmm.
to really give the brunch aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually, when I found out about it, I like whipped up my Revit program. I designed the front of Chashni. I had the design
Mm-hmm.
for at least a year and a half, what I wanted to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, designing namkeen was a lot difficult for me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, I resonated more with Chashni
Yeah.
than I did with namkeen. So like it was so easy for me to design Chashni and like choose the colors and the materials and everything, the lighting, like all that stuff. It was a lot easier for me. So I had the design for a year and a half until we actually, started the whole process. So I guess it was just like a lot of fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I don't know.
And are there plans to, and not to put you on the spot, but like to build a bigger Chashni or to expand Chashni as well, the way that you guys are doing with Namkeen?
We haven't really talked about Joshny's expansion yet. I think just like like I said, like it was just kind of like we had the location we were using as storage, and we are like, why not have it up and running and be able to self sustain itself. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think we've never talked about it expanding.
Mm-hmm.
um I don't know, you have to talk about that. Like I've had multiple people come and ask me that, and I'm just always just like, I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I had my wife Aisha drop me an Instagram reel today of some really cool sort of American influencer, food influencer, actually covered Chashni recently. He came to eat, and then, he was talking about the fusion of the Pakistani food and the American food. And I think that's one of the coolest things about your restaurant, which is, introducing Pakistani culture to a non-Pakistani audience. What's that been like? Like, what kind of feedback have you gotten from the not non-desis? Like, and what has that been like to experience that, to feel that, and what kind of feedback have you received?
We've received really good feedback for Joshny. Like whoever comes, they love it. What we do sometimes get mistaken for Indian, but like
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we're able to give Pakistan an identity in America, because we,
Mm-hmm.
like, how a lot of people don't realize we're two different countries. So like
Mm-hmm.
being able to use Namkeen and Joshny to be to for it to portray Pakistan as its own identity, its own food, its own like we have similar spices and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but the way we cook is a
Mm-hmm.
lot different from each other's. So, just being able to like, I think when it comes to Joshni, like being able to like portray it as
Mm-hmm.
Pakistani American, it gives me a lot of joy, because
Mm-hmm.
we always just get streamlined with, the South Asian, the Asian, the Indian, so it's
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
like a reward in itself to just be able for it to stand on its own. As for like the white community, and like everyone in Chatham was just really, really, really nice. Like you would,
Mm-hmm.
we in the beginning we were really skeptical, because we're like the only brown people there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there are a lot of Indian people there, but like I think I would say like Muslim people there. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a little scary in the beginning, but the feedback we got from everyone was really nice. So, and then for it to be halal and for it to be like diverse, I think
Mm-hmm.
Chatham really, really needed that. And then people who would come, like the local people, they would be like, oh, like we needed this diversity. We needed
Mm-hmm.
something different in Chatham. So
Mm-hmm.
my friend actually is local. So
Mm-hmm.
she's Muslim, she's Iraqi. She's like, growing up, we had nothing halal here. Like
Mm-hmm.
they wanted something halal, they would have to go to the town next to it or
Yeah.
somewhere far. So she's like, I'm really glad you got this, set
Hmm.
up here. And the ice cream shop right in front of us, when Namkeen opened, we helped him a lot with business too. And he would
Mm.
come to us and he would be like, thank you so much for opening like all your
Hot chicken,
customers.
here's some ice
Yeah, like
cream. Yeah.
everybody eats the spicy food from you and they come and get ice cream for us. So they were everybody was just like really like grateful to have us in the town. And I think
That's
ever since
amazing.
we opened, it's a lot more diverse now than it I guess used to be.
That's amazing. The other thing that your story sort of tells me, based on the feedback that you received, is it also says a lot about the broader Pakistani American community, which is, in Jersey, which is we don't give ourselves enough credit, but you took a step forward, expressed yourself as you are in your food, and it's really worked. And I guess there are more things that the Pakistani American community can take chances on in terms of expressing our identity, in terms of more businesses that can open up and sort of cater to us without, your restaurant could have easily been an Indian restaurant or a halal restaurant, but it was a Pakistani American restaurant that is also halal. And so that makes such a big difference in terms of how you did it. But what do you think it says about our community, about the Pakistani American community in New Jersey, that something like Chashni and Namkeen can be hits here in Jersey?
No, I think like we just need to be comfortable in our skin,
Hmm.
just be able to portray your ideas the way you want them to be. Like, don't be shy about it. Like, just, take a jab at it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, at least you were able to portray yourself. Like,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be food. It can be a clothing brand. It can be any entrepreneurial thing. It
Hmm.
can be as something as like selling stickers or like making pins and designing these things. And I think this whole trend of TikTok really
Hmm.
opened up everyone's door to like be able to like 100% portray themselves as they are. Like nobody needs to be shy about it. And I think that helped a lot with our business. And it's helping a lot of people too. And I think also ever since TikTok, like people were able to express themselves like, hey, I'm an immigrant, I'm Pakistani, I'm American. Why is it so hard for me to like fit in here? Like, why is this so hard for me to like actually portray myself? And I think when this whole like wave began, like
Hmm.
so many people came out and they shared their stories and their
Hmm.
businesses and like what brought them to where they are now. So like it's a wonderful thing. Like it doesn't have to be food. It can be literally anything. Artwork. I mean,
Hmm.
options are endless. Like we are able to, merge ourselves in America with our culture. So like why not,
Hmm.
kind of take over almost
Yeah,
every aspect we can.
that's amazing. Um, as we come to sort of the close of it, I wanna talk about your son Farhan. Is that his name? Did I get
Orhan.
F-
Orhan. Or
Farhan?
O with the O.
Farhan. Okay. You also need to talk about the spelling as well. But as you think about him growing up in a Pakistani American family, but fundamentally as much more American than you are, sort of, him being born here and growing up here, um, how do you think about his identity? And do you feel like these are questions for him to answer? Or your life and what you've created in terms of the restaurants, you want that to be an influence on him as he thinks about his identity?
Yeah, I think it should be an influence, but at the end of the day, he is his own person. But he's
Hmm.
really little right now. So, for example, my nephew Yahya, he's like 8. So
Hmm.
he's seen the growth of Namkeen. He's seen the struggle. Like he was able to better grasp it himself. So for the longest time, he would be like, I'm going to make my own Namkeen when I grow up.
Hmm.
I'm going to be a chef. All these
Hmm.
things, right? So like now he's like, I feel like he was able to like, see like what we built up, and it is obviously for them,
Hmm.
for our kids. And like he would like be so proud about it, like, oh, this
Hmm.
is like Namkeen, this Pakistani. It's
Hmm.
I think for our kids, like, um they're able to be more open about being Pakistani American
Mm-hmm.
than I think we were, because
Mm-hmm.
we were always just trying to fit in, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
were always just trying to make room for ourselves. And for them, we kind of set this up for them already. So they are able to find it normal, not
Mm-hmm.
find it like, oh, like, well, should I even say I'm Pakistani or should I say I'm American? So, like, that whole
Yeah.
like that unknown questionable that we
Mm-hmm.
were always facing. So I think, like, for example, like when I see Orhan, I feel like I'm talking to him in English so much that I feel like he's losing that
Mm-hmm.
connection with Urdu. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
thank God for like his grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
because they
Yeah.
speak in Urdu with him. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
that connection is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I don't know how to explain it, but just like that cultural aspect that my parents always put on us,
Mm-hmm.
and like shared with us and kept us really close to it. And I feel like it's kind of getting lost with everything that's happening. We're just so busy, we're not able to like 100% portray
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And I think like I'm still trying to, keep that whole like cultural identity close to heart, and also being able to share with him. And I think he's so young. So like right now it's just language. Like that's what I can
Mm-hmm.
like really teach him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But even that language part is a big thing. And we've talked about this with other guests as well. That's fascinating. Maybe the last question from my side is, as you reflect back on your journey, and as you think about everything that you've done, what do you think you've learned about yourself? Like it could be about work ethic or anything, and also about your identity. Sort of having gone through all of these different experiences, how do you feel you've changed and developed sort of over time?
Um, I don't, I guess I changed a lot with just like being able to, not being such an introvert. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was like one of the main things. You go to some restaurants and people, like the owners, are just so communicative with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll just talk hours and
Mm-hmm.
hours. Like I'm not like that. Neither is my
Mm-hmm.
husband like that. Like we're just
Mm-hmm.
really like introverts. So like
Mm-hmm.
being able to, be comfortable and talk to customers
Mm-hmm.
was like something that I feel like it's my constant struggle, and I'm always working on that. Like I just like always hesitate. Like even when
Mm-hmm.
I do make an effort, it's just really like so much for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I think I've it's just become, sometimes we feel like it's consumed us, the restaurants, but it's also our identity, and it's like our labor of love, and like our dedication, and like our trials, our tears, everything is in the restaurant. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like our second home. Like whenever something is happening, we're there. Like next step. Like it's always just like a constant struggle with us. And I think it's also just, like I said, consumed us. So we're just like really always about the restaurant. And the moments we do get to not think about it, it's wonderful. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And although we even spent most of this podcast talking about the restaurants, I should say, I should have said this at the beginning. This is not a sponsored post. This is not a sponsored podcast. I am genuinely obsessed with Chashni, but I do want to support sort of local business, and I do want to support Pakistani American, businesses, especially done with such a sincere sort of intention. So I want to leave the last word to you. Anything that we've not talked about that you want to say, or anything that you want to say to the community, as they look at you, and how can the community be more supportive of, entrepreneurs and change makers who are doing good work, like you?
Um, all right, I need time to think. So I think it's like, um, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. Let me ask you in a different way. Um, Suppose there are other women who are looking to do similar things that you've done. They're in Jersey, they're in other parts of the US, they're Pakistani, they're Muslim, they're American, but they're scared of sort of this journey. What message would you have for them, and also for like other people in their lives? and how they can support. Like, you were very fortunate to have a family who was very supportive and said, hey, we're standing behind you in doing this. But also I've seen that, whenever, it's true of Pakistanis in general, maybe in Pakistani Americans as well, whenever a Pakistani tries to do something different, other Pakistanis are like, oh, don't do this, it's not going to work. you know
We did get
how can the rest of the community be more supportive of people, not just you, but people like you, who are trying to do things?
I think the main thing is not to get judgmental with others.
Mm-hmm.
Be more accepting of people around you, especially Pakistanis. We have that, this
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, ye kya kar raha hai? Why is he
Mm-hmm.
doing that? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
That, like, the skepticalism that we
Mm-hmm.
have within us. Like, I think we need to, like, our generation, we need to get rid of that. Like, we need to
Mm-hmm.
stop being this judgmental group of
Mm-hmm.
people, be more accepting of each other, be each other's support. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, alhamdulillah, I had a lot of family who supported me and my husband and my family, but and like we had each other's backs. And I know like some people, some women don't have
Mm-hmm.
that, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot to do with trust in Allah. Like, have taqwa and like trust in Him, and He will help you in any way possible, in every way possible. So I think that was our major like help. Like, it's all from Allah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we had the intention to do it. We put our trust in Him, and He kind of just, like, the boat just kept going. Like, it just kept like sailing through. So I think that's like one of the major things. I like my message to people is just be supportive of each other, have trust in Allah, and just like if you have an idea, just take a jab at it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you need investors, like, I feel like now it's so much easier. There
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of spams out there, but it's a lot more easier to just come to a community and be like, hey, I want to do this. Does anyone want to help? And I feel like people are a lot more helpful now than they were like before. Like, you can just ask on social media, and like people are just like, yeah, like, we can help you. Like, even if it's not money, even if it's just like branding and like
Mm-hmm.
design, anything. Like, I think as a community, like the younger generation is a lot more
Mm-hmm.
united as I think it was before. Or maybe that's just how I feel. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
if everyone is. So I
No,
think,
it's very true. It's a lot easier to do a lot of these things now than they were before. And you're sort of, it's still hard, as your story tells us, but now there are more chances to be able to do some of this.
and I think after COVID, a lot of people were able to just sit home and reflect a lot about their lives and the jobs that they were doing. So I think after COVID, people realized that 9 to 5 is not the life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's more to life than just working at like a building in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
working there 9 to 5. Like, like we have the ability that the immigrants, that
Mm-hmm.
the two generations that like we're trying to fit in here, like we have the ability to like create our own selves into our businesses. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have that opportunity and ability, so why not take on it? I think
Mm-hmm.
this trend is lovely. Like, I'm so glad like people are speaking up about it. They're
Mm-hmm.
expressing themselves about their struggles and like how they were able to um put their struggles and like all the kind of like our story, but like
Mm-hmm.
in their own ways. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful. Like, even for you, like you were like confused yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
needed a platform to speak on. So you were
Mm-hmm.
able to,
Mm-hmm.
love the name Pehchan. Like, it's just
Mm-hmm.
so like it resonates with all of us, I think. And it's like really amazing what you're doing. And like the opportunity, like you came to me, you're going to like different Pakistanis in Jersey or just the tri-state area. So it's like, you know, we are finally able to like understand ourselves and अपने आप को पहचान रहे हैं, like, and like
Mm-hmm.
being able to like tell everyone the story. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Nobody's expressed back to me my idea of Pechan so well, sort of back at me. And that's really what it is. It's, I think we're really coming of age as a community, or we're creating these platforms and expressions of our identities, and then we need each other to sort of celebrate that. And it's a small community. I also joke with Amreen, I'm like, We're like professional soulmates. Like we need each other to feed each other, to fuel each other, and to know that we're not crazy. Like sometimes you're just like, are you crazy? And then meet somebody else who's like you, and they're like, okay, एक support मिलती है. That's beautiful. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this podcast. If you ever want to find me, you should catch me on a Saturday morning at Chashni. I am absolutely obsessed and stand by it. And I wish you all the best. Amna, it's been so great knowing you through your food, but then also knowing the human being behind that. And I hope by the time my daughter gets married, you have like, well, I don't know how long you have, but she's 3 right now, so you have some time. But before she gets married, I hope you guys are big enough to host a big fat wedding, a Pakistani wedding, because you guys have got some really good game.
Thank you so much.
Maybe that should be a next vertical for you, shadis.
Shad, we
So
actually did look into like the whole like banquet hall thing before our restaurant. And we were just like, no,
it's too
not
much
for
headache.
us.
They're too picky. Shadi pe everybody's very picky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I get that, but maybe one day we'll graduate to doing that. Also, it would merge your interior design skills
Yeah.
with your culinary skills. It would be the perfect way to also express identity. Okay, I'm maybe going down a separate podcast, a new podcast episode here. But I'd love for you to stay on for 2 minutes. I'm just gonna press stop recording. But thank you for your time today. This was
Okay,
awesome.
thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.